again reporting from upstairs today. At least for the early videos. The later stuff I can always do downstairs. It's not a big deal. It's a Doctor Who poster behind me. Just in case anybody was curious. So today, we've got 7 games in the schedule. We got 7 games tomorrow, and then I think we got 12 on Saturday. They bunch them all into Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But it should be interesting. And I'll mention, I'll throw it on here. There may be some panic that Anderson, Gardner, and Matthews were absent from practice. Or you look and go, well, they're going to play Friday and Saturday. They might be just giving these guys a day off. But now there's a debate about whether or not Matthews is going to play tomorrow. Yada, yada, yada. So we'll see what happens. But that's tomorrow. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Chicago hasn't won in Philadelphia apparently in 19 years. 13 straight visits, and they haven't won any of them. So do they win tonight? Well, if you're a Philly fan, you're sure hoping not. It'll be an interesting game, I think, because Crawford's playing out of his mind. Philly's played well, and Chicago's record is probably better than what they should have, and I know Philly's record is worse than what they should have, so there's a lack of luck on one side and some good luck on the other, and we'll see which team's better tonight. Edmonton's in Jersey. So Edmonton's coming off of that big win that they had over the Islanders. And New Jersey's lost 3 in a row. Now, New Jersey's injured list that I looked at, and I just did a video on injuries and trades. I'm sure Jersey fans will be like, where's all our injuries? There's only 2 listed. One's day-to-day and the other one's on the IR. So, Jersey should have most hands on deck for a visit from the Edmonton Oilers. An Oilers team that beat them pretty good last week. So we'll see if the Oilers can do it again. Taylor Hall again will be looking for some measure of you guys shouldn't have traded me on the Oilers, and we'll see what happens. And if Jersey can turn around their fortunes. Minnesota. So, yeah, they probably should have beaten Toronto, but goaltending has suddenly become an issue for the Wild. Dubnyk hasn't looked like Minnesota Dubnyk. He's looked more like Edmonton Dubnyk over the last couple of weeks. And if that continues, Montreal's going to be 500 after tonight as they host the Minnesota Wild. I don't often cheer for Minnesota, but tonight's going to be one of those times when I do. And that being said, Montreal's 3-game winning streaks made them relevant, and it makes the standings more interesting, just as I said that it would last week. When original 6 teams are competitive and they're in the running, it definitely makes for a more interesting NHL. No offense to all of the other teams in the league, but being an old fart myself, that's kind of what I like to see. Arizona's in St. Louis. Now, on paper and on the ice, this is a mismatch. This is a horrible mismatch. St. Louis has only lost 3. Arizona's only won 2. So if I was gambling tonight, I'd take Zona. Because Zona, the odds are going to be astronomical against the Arizona Coyotes. And St. Louis could very well look past them, let up a little bit, and suddenly you're staring at the face of an Arizona win in St. Louis. It is so crazy, it could very well happen. And we'll see. I know that sounds crazy. And I know after tonight, when St. Louis probably wins the game like 5-0, that we'll revisit this and say, yeah, Shannon was out of his mind on that prediction. But it's just one of those games I look at and I say, you know what? Sure. Reversal. The loser team wins and the winning team loses. Sure, we'll just go with that. Detroit's in Calgary. So the Flames are still a team looking for an identity. In my eyes, they're still a team looking for an identity. And they need to figure out quickly what they're doing in terms of their scoring past their main guys. Their depth of scoring has been poor. So whether Bennett and Jankowski are doing other things well or not, you've got to get these guys on the score sheet. And for the Flames, they've got to get something going on with Brouwer. You bring the guy in on a big contract. He's got to score something. I know he's not worth anything on the trade market right now as a Flame. This is just ridiculous. This is the kind of situation that he was brought in to help with. He's supposed to be your key guy, scoring, big goals. And it just hasn't happened at all. So, that's where the Flames have had their issue. Their goaltending's been decent. I know Smith's had the odd bad game here and there, but for the most part, he's been very good. He hasn't been the problem. And with Hamonic on the IR, that's going to hurt, but there should be enough depth there to help cover for that. And it's the depth of scoring that I look at in Calgary, and I say, what the heck's going on? And Vancouver, speaking of what's going on. So the Anaheim Ducks are on a 4-game losing streak. Here come the Canucks, a team that's overachieved thus far this year. And I think the Ducks, minus everybody, so without Kessler, without Getzlaf, without Fowler, I think the Ducks could very well spank Vancouver tonight, because this is what usually happens. Even when the Canucks were, winning President's trophies and great teams, it seemed like you go to California and it's just a death zone. And Anaheim was usually the worst for it. People ask why I hate Anaheim. It started with that. It started with the Canucks coming in with a great record and Anaheim having a record, and they would just beat the hell out of Vancouver. You come out and it was like 7-0 or 6-1, and you're like, what the hell? The Ducks aren't this good against anybody else. What the hell? So, I started getting angry and I started hating those games. It's like, oh, it's the Ducks, so we're going to die. So I still have that feeling. I know the Canucks went through California. I think it was just last spring they went through California and they won 3 in a row. They beat San Jose, LA, and Anaheim, and I thought it was really weird. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And I don't anticipate that happening this year. And while Vancouver's been overachieving and defensively they've been very solid, this is the kind of game that I think could really bite them. Anaheim looks good. Tampa and LA. So Tampa won last night. They spanked the Sharks, and tonight they're in LA. This could be the game of the year. This absolutely could be the game of the year. And this could be a Stanley Cup final preview. Between LA and St. Louis, you're just splitting hairs. But this could be the Stanley Cup preview. And it could be a really amazing high-flying game with fantastic goaltending at both ends of the ice, tremendous defense, offense, everything. Everything you could want in a game could be in this game. So I do, intending to watch games. I'd like to watch Vancouver, Anaheim, and Tampa and LA, but they're on at the same time, so I'm going to have to channel surf a bit. In the early games, I'll be watching Edmonton and New Jersey because I'll be interested to see if Edmonton can do it again. And I will definitely keep an eye on Arizona and St. Louis, because can Arizona win a game? Come on, they've only won 2 out of 17 games. This is just sad. Make it 3 out of 18, and 4 out of 19, and 5 out of 20, and then you're still on pace for only 20 wins on the season. Yeah, they'd have to pick up the pace to hit 20 wins this year. So that's the kind of season that they're having. They have to pick up the pace to get 10. I think 20 is overstating it. Yeah, they'd have to pick up the pace to get 10. So it's pretty sad. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing around the internet and you happen upon this video. And I will certainly talk to you guys again soon about what happens with this stuff and some other stuff. Actually, there's one other thing I want to look up. All right, I'll quickly touch on the goalie since I made this a thing. Brian Elliott starting for Philly. Corey Crawford's unconfirmed for Chicago, but likely. Talbot's confirmed against a likely Schneider. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Kincaid, though. Keep in mind the last game. I wouldn't be surprised if they came back with Kincaid for this one. Charlie Lindgren's confirmed against an unconfirmed Dubnyk. I can't see Dubnyk not starting. But the Vultures are circling on Dubnyk again. It's funny how goalies work that way. That they're great, and then all of a sudden, like there's a bad game that turns into another bad game, and then within about 5 or 6 games, people are like, is he done? Happens with goalies a lot. Confirmed Carter Hutton against Antti Raanta. I don't think Hutton makes St. Louis any more vulnerable to a loss. But Ranta's definitely a more solid goalie than Wedgwood. And Hutton's a really good goaltender. He's underrated. It is Mike Smith against Peter Mrazek. Mrazek, of course, had a shutout last week, so that's not a downgrade at all. Markstrom's against Miller. So the interesting thing is going to be Miller in net for Anaheim. That definitely doesn't change my opinion about how this game could go. With John Gibson on the shelf day to day, Miller's really a very good goaltender, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of school Markstrom at the other end. That's going to be fun to watch, though. And it's likely Peter Budaj's playing for Tampa against an unconfirmed Jonathan Quick. So, but if it was Budaj and Kemper, that wouldn't 100% surprise me either. Kemper's actually had a half-decent start. So there you go. There's the goalies, the information you need. And it is dailyfaceoff.com that I use for finding the starting goalies and who's most likely to start. The funny thing I've found online is that different sites are more accurate with different information. So the best way to do it is just to use different sites for different pieces of information on games. And even then, it's not 100%. But thank you guys for being out there. You guys are 100%. And I'll talk to you again soon.